What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk. My name is William Kale from Coinigy.com. I've got a new webcam, and I don't know if it's kind of blinding me a little bit.
Clear over there.
A little bit better. Yeah, tried to get the lighting right in the home office, and
Wow.
looking a little pasty. I swear I'm not this pasty in real life, or maybe I am, and I just.
That's just a Wisconsin tan.
Yeah, it's my
Your
screen.
forehead doesn't glimmer like that in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I tried to put a little glitter on and everything, to make it look nice for the camera. But so welcome, everyone. I got a great show for you. We're still waiting on Alex. I hope he's okay. I don't know where he's at. Looks like he maybe got tied up or something. He's been having some internet issues, so we're just going to trudge along. And if Alex is able to get in, we would love to have him on. So
he also was going to have a buddy of his come on as well. So
yeah. So let's see. I mean, maybe I assume that's going to be kind of a package deal. So and we'll wait for Alex and yada yada yada. So so anyways, I should give a little bit of an introduction for those of you who are new. I already introduced myself, I guess. William Kale from Coinigy. Along with me from Coinigy is Rob Borden, rocking the Coinigy T-shirt. How's it going tonight?
Hey, I want one of those.
Going great. I'm ready
Brian,
to go.
we'll get you
Excited
one.
for the show.
Yeah, we need to place a new order for Coinigy T-shirts.
And bobbleheads.
Yeah, I thought you did that already.
No, I did not do that yet.
Yeah, I got a couple people waiting.
So scold me for it. So
consider yourself scolded.
All right. So we'll get on that. And last but not least, Brian Beamish, the Rational Investor. How you doing tonight?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing great. It's the end of the summer, dog days of summer. It's awfully hot around here. So we're just slugging our way through the dog days. I'm actually impressed that crypto has continued to hold its rally gains here through the latter part of the summer. So that's encouraging seasonally, and if anything, it should be, I think, a good anecdote of capital flows into this space.
Yeah, it's really surprising to see. I mean, a lot of these altcoins have been just shooting up. What was the one recently? Can't remember off the top of my head, but
XMR's had one.
Yeah, XMR, Monero. Yeah, that's right.
And actually, I wanted to. I sort of joked on Twitter with Alex about his Factom. I wanted to see whether he was able to hang on to his margin long position in Factom, because it's had a pretty nice rally here lately.
Right on, right on. Yeah, so, well, I guess we can kind of jump into it. I wanted to give a couple of Coinigy updates just to start out with. As Alex is not here to give his usual spiel, so let's see. So just a couple things to mention. Those of you out there who are Coinigy users that might have had some missing chart snapshots, we actually made a complete goof up and we lost some. But the good news is we recovered like 99% of them. We made kind of a boo-boo when we synced with Google Storage. We moved everything over to Google Storage, and a couple days worth of chart snapshots were lost. So really sorry about that. Sucks. We screwed up. But we were able to basically recover the vast majority. So in addition to that, those of you who are on OSX, also with regard to snapshots, there's been an issue for the longest time where basically people who are on Retina screens, so a lot of the MacBooks, like MacBook Pros, have Retina screens now, and they basically have 4 times the amount of pixels. And that was causing an issue basically in our parsing library that actually takes a snapshot of the chart and then builds the image. So people were seeing like crazy blown up charts, and they looked just really nutty.
Oh, I was wondering what that was about.
Yeah, so we finally fixed that. So any charts, new charts moving forward that you're saving as far as images, that'll be all nice and fixed up. What else do we have here? We recently switched BitX. We had an exchange called BitX listed, and we switched it to Coinsbank. They changed their name recently, so the code for them is CBNK. And then there's also another BitX out there, which we don't yet support, but they're based in South Africa, so hopefully we'll get a new replacement BitX up soon on the site. And then also an update for anybody who's using the API, the Coinigy API. We just released the .NET PCL API library. So any of you guys who are C# developers, .NET developers, this is basically a library that you can just drop into your application and basically get any private API calls like directly through into your application. So all you have to do is basically plug in your API keys. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. We've just got a whole heck of a lot of work going on behind the scenes just to improve the platform. We're also kind of in the process now of hiring on some more developers, which is much needed. So definitely stay tuned because things are going to be getting a whole heck of a lot better around here. We're kind of well, what's that? Yeah, I mean that's on the plate, Brian. Trust me. Trust me. Yeah, the chart scanner, as we call it, is a high priority item. Let me put it that way. So,
Yeah.
I again can't give an ETA yet, but it's
SMS
coming
alerts
along.
on those breakouts.
And if you happen to be a front-end engineer and you haven't heard yet, we are hiring, so you could send a resume into support@coinigy.com if you wanted to be potentially part of the team as well.
Yeah, so if you're, we're looking specifically for somebody with basically React and Redux experience. That's kind of what we're aiming for on the 2.0 version of the platform. So really, anybody that's familiar, I mean, either if you're familiar with the mean stack, basically, as well as React and Redux and all that fun stuff, definitely feel free to shoot your resume over. We're basically looking to just add a core member of the team here, kind of to help on the front end stuff. So yeah, that's about it for us.
That's cool, actually, because there's a lot of people that have watched the show, have registered for the school, and are all like programmers and graphic designers and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if there probably are people in the audience that are like, "Hey, that's me.
Yep.
That's me. That's me."
Yeah, I mean that's one thing about kind of crypto in general is it's really programmers just flock to this stuff. I mean that's kind of why Rob and I originally got into it too. So, well, outside of the capitalist kind of stuff initially, that's what initially attracted us. But what kept us is the programming aspect. So. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot of users out there. A couple people have expressed interest and stuff, so it'd be really cool to hire somebody that really kind of knows Coinigy in and out already. So yeah. So should we jump in? Do you want to get into some
look
BTC?
at some Bitcoin charts?
Yeah, I have to get this wheel ready because
I don't know whether Alex is going to.
The Wheelmaster is MIA.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise we can just kind of randomly pick off of Twitter.
Well, I think
there's a million suggestions this week, so.
I think our plan that we discussed before starting, why don't we just try and follow that, eh?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll, for people who are watching, and everybody loves Bitcoin, so why don't we spend a bit of time just analyzing Bitcoin here. And if Alex and his buddy do show up, then we'll have set the stage for them for a bit. If they don't, then we'll just jump right into the wheel. So let's pop on over to the screen and see what we got. See what happens when I do that. There we go. Yay. This is the sort of default template that I like to use on Coinigy. These, for anybody who's never actually watched this show before, are really, it's maybe not a bad idea. We just take a few minutes and talk about some of the tools that I like to use. I'm a big fan of moving averages, and I love how Coinigy gives us the ability to have both exponential and simple moving averages on a chart. So you've probably seen my charts that are published on Twitter and stuff. I like to follow the 13 EMA, which is kind of a funny little number. A lot of people in the public seem to be turned off by the number 13. So as a result, I'm actually quite unique in following 13 EMA. Exponential moving averages hug price a little bit closer, so that's kind of why I like the 13 EMA. You'll notice that price revisits it quite often. And if we're thinking about buying extreme moves and using the 13 EMA check as a simple sort of check of the mean, those kind of strategies work really well. On this particular chart, I like to follow the 30 SMA as sort of, what is sort of the medium-term trend doing. And it works very well, again, as price. I like to use these moving averages as checks, and price really likes to come back and check the 30 SMA quite often. And then finally, I have the 200 period SMA on this chart. There's a debate, because crypto is 24/7, as to what the most appropriate longer-term moving average is, and I have used 365-day moving averages as well. But I find it's interesting. I find that this 200 periods, there's something about it that it seems to be universal, regardless of whether it's a Monday to Friday market or a 24/7. So that's often, you'll see that on my charts, and I like to actually use them as sort of. Sometimes you get sort of these envelopes where price is sort of trapped between the moving averages, and it'll often have to play around in those zones. We don't really see it off of this. I guess you guys were saying that GDAX, we don't have that much data on it, eh?
Yeah, I think they started up in like 2015, right?
January.
Pop maybe over to Stamp. Let's see. Do we get a little more? Okay. Well, I see. So
yeah.
Sometimes
you
get situations where price actually will just play ping pong between the longer term and the shorter term moving averages. And I kind of think that's what's going on here. That's sort of why I'm mentioning this. Is we have the 30 SMA now, in my opinion, is acting as fairly significant resistance to the upside, and the 200 period moving average is acting as support on the downside. And I like to call this sort of like a moving average sandwich. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some serious battles here. And we won't really get sort of an idea of the trend until this battle is resolved. On the site, when I'm called the Rational Investor, we run a site called therationalinvestor.co, and I'm doing daily videos for site members, and obviously trading and blogging about it and posting it. And my general message to my members in our community has just basically been, and you guys now, both of you have been working with me for a couple of years now. It almost is like, geez, this is almost cliche how this always keeps happening, eh? So hopefully you guys have gotten to the point where you just see this over and over and over. I mean, that's basically what technical analysis is, just a repeat of previous behavioral patterns. I think on balance, this was a fairly wide, long consolidation. This was, and you might even take this rally peak here, because that was a bit of a blow off top. But in essence, this consolidation here is set up basically, in my opinion, a pretty good floor for price. And do you see how, just coming back and testing these highs here, price literally smacked right off that top of that level and rejected it. Isn't that incredible how that happens? This is a good example of just this old concept of support and resistance, horizontal support and resistance to be specific. So if we sort of break Bitcoin into trading ranges, can you guys see how we kind of have this trading range, we have this trading range, you might even argue we could even break this trading range in half. And you get sort of these little pockets price likes to sort of play in. At the same time, we do have this nasty harmonic pattern that, let's get rid of this for the time. That, in my opinion, probably has to be resolved before Bitcoin can really start going forward in earnest. I see every once in a while they don't get resolved, but again, and actually, this is interesting. Looking at Stamp, we might even argue that this has been resolved because that's awful.
Yeah, look at that wick.
On my futures contracts, though, we haven't hit these levels yet, so I'm not quite sure what that's maybe suggesting. And then if we, I think as you mentioned just a second ago, this tail of this candle here is kind of left unfinished business. Kind of like how this tail has left some unfinished business, and eventually market had to come back down and sort of revisit that. In fact, break to a new low and put another big tail in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have to come and revisit down in here. And as I said a moment ago, like if we actually look at BTC USD, how does this work? If I go OK Coin, no, this is the cash. How do I get the futures?
Okay, FT, the one right below it in the list on the left.
There we go. Thank you. All right, so if we go here, you can see this one still has a little bit of unfinished business here. Right down into this level. Maybe what that means is we might actually see spot or cash prices actually trade to a slight premium to Bitcoin futures, which is a whole conversation unto itself about spreads and what's called contango and backwardization. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Can we do spreads on Coinigy yet? Like if I wanted to...
No, you can't like subtract one market from another yet.
Yeah. That's something I wouldn't mind seeing from you guys down the road.
Oh, yeah.
What I think, if we, let's go back to our, and that's interesting that the cash market is actually a lot happier, so that's good. If we think about why price rallied back from the lows and where it realistically should have rallied back to, can you guys see that the bounce off of this low did nothing more than take us right back to that 38.2? You guys remember, and this will really test your brains. You guys remember who our CME and New York Merc floor trader is, who says, wait for the 38.2 to be resolved before taking a trade?
Ooh.
I don't think I've mentioned him to you guys in probably a year.
I mean, I remember Mountain Man, but that's a different level.
Mountain Man, that's 1.87. Anyway,
right.
A guy named Ray Burchett.
Oh yeah, that rings a bell.
Okay. Pretty well-known floor trader. Sadly, they're closing down the floor, so he has to be a computer jockey like the rest of us now. But anyway, his basic rule, and the one thing that I learned from him while I was sort of mentoring with him, was you've got to wait for this 38.2 to be resolved before you make a decision as to whether this is a bull or a bear. And this is a perfect example. So everybody who's watching this video tonight, you're getting like solid gold information here. Write this down. Basically what we did here was we just bounced right back to the 38.2. And you can really see the battle. Can you guys see how we're just basically setting up a trading range here? Top of the range, bottom of the range. Right? And really, I might argue that you're probably best served to wait for this to give us some sort of resolution. Is this going to turn into an M top, of which we have to work our way back down, like I said, eat these tails and wicks? Or do we form a nice bottom in here and resume our rally upward? Only time will tell, and really we've seen these consolidation ranges even in Bitcoin through the spring, right? That's basically the same thing, and I don't know whether you guys remember when I tweeted this stuff out. I remember distinctly we had a nice little trading range here, same sort of logic, where all you're going to do is if the market breaks the bottom of the range, then that's an M top, see you later. If it breaks the top end of the range, then rally central, right? Kind of the same logic. So if you're trading Bitcoin, I think you got to wait for this range to resolve first here before you make any grand conclusions. But I think it's really interesting is if you drill into this chart, look what happens when we draw fib going back down to the lows. What a coincidence or surprise or shock. Look where the market stopped, 38.2.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Right on the dot.
Like literally 38.2 owns this market right now. So if you fancy yourself and the cool part about this, right, is this is basically Ray Burchett. You know, don't take a trade until you actually see the 38.2 resolve. Well, in this case, that either means we break up through the top or we break down through the bottom. Isn't that cool? So, nice little, that's something that jumped out at me looking at Bitcoin here just recently.
So what are your kind of overall, what's your gut feeling with Bitcoin? I know, you know, in the past you kind of thought it was going to be having to go way down to resolve. Did that Bitfinex stuff kind of clear that up, do you think?
I think we're still
Did we
into
get low enough, or are we or are we going to go lower?
I
guess based on the long-term fibs.
Yeah, my simple
lower.
sort of playing this game for 25 years kind of knee-jerk answer is we probably need to go down into this area down in here, right, and really test these lows in earnest, and this will break out high here, right? And it's interesting because Alex was going to have on a guy who's a mining guy, and I'd be very curious to just hear from the miners themselves what their new cost basis for Bitcoin is mining these days.
Right, yeah.
Maybe we'll get him on next show or something. So, all in all, my hunch is that we're still in cleanup mode, and very much like, you know, I mean, these things take time to clean up. This was such a big move, eh? This period of consolidation from here to here really was, you know, it spanned, what was the duration here? Boom to boom, roughly somewhere in there. 186 bars. So if we just did sort of the same knee-jerk kind of consolidation cleanup, we really should be looking for some sort of resolution around the end of the year. Really, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. You know, we're going to have guys definitely heading into the end of the year. We're going to be booking capital gains. We're also going to be having people booking capital losses because sadly there were probably people that bought up here. They're actually going to use the year-end tax loss selling window as a selling opportunity.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny when price was up in the 700s, all of my kind of in real life friends, you know, that really didn't take any interest in Bitcoin, all of a sudden they're talking about it. Hey, you know, how do I buy? Even my cousin texted me and he's like, hey, have you ever used Coinbase? I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be buying right now, to be honest with you. And then, you know, after the whole Bitfinex fiasco, all those same people are texting me back going, I knew it was a bad idea. So
I'm sure you probably have people who shorted at 400 also, and now they're also bag holders.
Yeah, or just busted, yeah.
Can you, I don't know, that'd be interesting, a short bag. I mean, how much you'd have to just keep feeding that monster money to keep the position open, right?
Right, yeah.
And you'd be being grinded interest the whole way along there, right?
Yeah, hopefully they bailed already on the way up.
And really, guys, all that speaks to is if you want to be long-term sustainable, you've got to be trading setups, right, that have very specific risk-reward levels in mind. I mean, keep in mind, I actually just had a Bitcoin short setup that worked beautifully, and interestingly, the setup itself told me that I had to get out of the trade at around $500. And I'm trying to find the setup tool here. Where is it? Short. I was short up in this area up here, and I was willing to risk to new highs. So that means that my 2-to-1 had to be, you know, way down in here. Guess I was short a little bit higher. Maybe. Well, I thought I was risking. Oh, this is Bitstamp, so it's a little different than the futures contracts. But in essence, my 2-to-1, even as you can see on Stamp right here, was right into the reload zone, which is basically my bread and butter, right? This is what I talk to you guys about week after week. If I didn't, if I was short and I didn't take profits into this window, then you guys would be looking at me going, what the fuck? Why am I even listening to you, right? So the point here, guys, is that we trade setups. That's what we do. And a big part of setups, and especially what I teach in my programs, is we always have to approach every single trade with what we call a risk-first approach. So there really could never be a position, Rob, like you say, where you just have an open-ended short position and the losses could be just indefinite. It doesn't exist in our world. You have, ironically enough, the moment that you put on the trade, let's say, for example, I had shorted this little counter trend rally in here, and I was going to risk against this top here. And actually, I did a trade in crude oil. I almost carbon copied to this week, just a couple days ago, where basically the market rallied up against previous highs, and I just hit it. And if the market had continued and just moved up to further highs, then I would have just gotten the hell out. And that's what you have to do, right? And then conversely, and in this case, good example, the market dumped, and this was just an insane big dump down, wasn't it? And it didn't stay here very long, did it?
No, I was really surprised how quickly it bounced back after this last BFX fiasco.
Right.
I thought for sure we were heading downward for a long time.
That's Bitcoin, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it wouldn't be Bitcoin if we didn't have these little tussles every once in a while.
Right, and also too, because of the algorithmic nature of Bitcoin, it doesn't surprise me that. Remember, we did a study a few shows back about how Mountain Man levels just kept getting hit and respected the whole way along.
Yeah.
61.8 after.
Yeah, and it was really eye-opening and miraculous.
So what I noticed with crypto, and what I noticed with something like Bitcoin being extremely algorithmic, extremely computerized, it almost has to obey these kind of laws of mathematics even more than something like a penny stock that can be easily manipulated. All right, so continuing on here, trend is down, cleaning up after the party. I don't mind. In fact, I had site members who actually went and bought at $500. And also, too, keep in mind, $500 is a really important psychological level. Have you guys ever heard me talk about big, fat, round numbers, BFRNs? Yeah, and in fact, if we look at XMR, I put out tweets earlier in the week saying I thought I had very high confidence in 0.0075 on XMR, as it was a Mountain Man level. It was a 200% range extension, and it was a big fat round number. And I think XMR is actually just sitting right there now, isn't it?
Yeah.
XMR. Give me a quote.
Take a look at it. I haven't seen it since some other people posted the charts the other day. So.
All right, let's see how close I am to my big fat round number on Bitrex. Maybe we'll go Polo. I don't know. XMR 0.00. Look at that. 0.0075.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a pretty good call, eh? 0.00755. And that was my array. And you can see how this is looking awfully toppy in here now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose while we're here, we might as well take a boo at this. This thing was just a fantastic. I mean, we talk about charts. I mean, and long-term trends. I mean, you guys tell me. Do we see M's or do we see W's here?
I see quite a few W's there, especially recently.
This, my friends, and everybody looking out in the public, this is what we call long-term structural support. This is laying a base for a massive repricing higher. There is something, and guys, everybody watching this show, I've told you guys, I've told both you and Will and Rob, it's not an accident I am in crypto. I can see the writing on the walls. We're going to be, get loaded up here, people. We're going to be fucking rich. Excuse my French. But if you don't get on board, the bus will leave you behind. I've seen this happen time and time again. And we're seeing a lot of these cryptocurrencies putting in these very powerful structural bases here. So,
Do you know? Do you know if
late.
there's any news, like recent news with Monero that kind of caused this? I honestly have been. I've had my head buried in the sand lately. But
This is where we need Alex, right?
yeah, we need Alex for the fundamentals.
I haven't actually been keeping my nose to the grindstone too closely on the
Yeah, no problem. I just didn't
fundamentals.
know if you heard anything about it, or if anybody in the
Um,
chat knows what's up. Let me know.
I think you guys have been retweeting my trades. I mean, I'm just banging out doubles like crazy
Yep.
on these things. Building up free positions, right, and getting ready for much, much higher prices down the road. So, but beautiful. I mean, this is our textbook sort of reload zone concept, guys. Just doesn't get much better than this. If we just do something like boom, bada boom.
I do have the wheel set up, by the way, but we might as well look at Monero.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, this thing has just had such a powerful rally.
No, I'm really curious to hear what you have to say, because I saw a lot of people, well, definitely in the Jumbuck Slack, freaking
You
out
guys,
over this the other day. So
yeah, I mean, well, do you guys see how this thing really just kind of calmed down right down in this area right here? I mean, you really
yeah.
this is everything that I teach in my courses. This is definition of trade location. This is definition of market structure. We could probably drill down and find divergence signals and stuff like that. What was really interesting about this is that I had a double level just above here. I guess I had another double, I guess just above here. Yeah, maybe. And I had to go through this whole pullback here, which drove me crazy. And then I got a double
so
fill there.
you didn't actually hit the double, you just came up slightly short.
Yeah, talk about a pain in the ass. But it's a trader's life, right? This is just a trader's life. So I was just nice and patient, and sure enough, I got my double, and then we got another double off up here. But, long and short of it, guys, I mean, seriously, everybody watching this video, I'll even move my mouse over here. Everybody ready? Take a screenshot. Click. This is literally how we invest. This is everything. Find a range. Draw your 61 to 78.6 fib. Wait for prices to come back down into key support. Wait for your W's and go. This is textbook. And the irony of it all is if you did get a trade-off here and you were like, man, I really like this story. I want to go and buy these back that I just took profits on. Well, you could just go throw your stink bid right back in the reload zone, and you got a second whack at this thing. Isn't that incredible?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just and again, this is the definition of a bull. The problem, of course, now is that most of the
what do you
people
think
in
is
the
going to
public,
happen now? Is it going to keep basically ranging in 75,000, or what is that? 755,000?
it could, ideally you would really like to see these highs taken out. It could back off here, and if anything, if we're lucky, it does, and we do another reload zone back down into here. And if, of course, this happens and we get nice structural bottoms, I'll just go and buy back all the coins that I sold on the way up. In fact, I did that recently on Litecoin. I just went and bought back a whole bunch of coins that I sold up top.
Oh, hey, sorry to cut you off, but I just Googled Monero, and it looks like, so there's this darknet market called Alphabay, which I know nothing about, but I assume it's, pretty similar to the Silk Road type of deal. And they just included XMR for a payment solution. So that's probably a little bit to do with why this has been taking off.
Yeah, I suppose that it's for.
I don't know if that's a really great reason.
There's
probably not long term.
That's come in here. So and maybe it takes a lot of these XMRs to buy an AK-47. I don't know. But somebody had to do some serious buying to launch this higher here. All right, and the bottom line here, guys, now watching this, you cannot chase this here. You're just not allowed to. If you are interested, and there was a good example of that Steemit, same thing. So, we'll leave XMR here. with the notion that you have to now have the professional patience and discipline to wait for price to come back down into this zone if you're thinking about buying. And the interesting thing is, you guys have heard me talk about gaps before, right?
Yeah.
What a coincidence. If we zoom in on the chart, look at this big old juicy gap right in here. There was some major indecision, major confusion. There's also a little gap right up there. But this looks like some unfinished business right in this area. Can you see that? There's some holes in the charts there. So, and what a coincidence, that's right in that reload zone. And if you don't believe it, like I was, it's too bad Alex isn't here to defend his site. But this.
I like how you always say it's Alex's site.
Isn't he like a principal in this thing?
I don't think so. I think he just knows how to market on it really well, so he got a lot of steam. But yeah, I mean, technically you're an owner, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean, technically,
gain a bunch of steam, you are.
Yeah, you got. Anyway, so the point here, good example. The market went screaming higher, and I went on the Steemit site, and sadly, there were people up here talking about how this thing was such a great buy and how it was a bull flagpole, and I just said, guys, just do yourself a favor and just wait. Just let this thing come back down to earth. And I had drawn a couple levels here off of the Steemit blog post that I did saying, we're probably going to come back down into here. And that's exactly what's happened. So the reason why I just mentioned this is that this is, same sort of thing with XMR. Is you got to have the patience and discipline to let this thing come back down to earth. You just have to. That's the only way you can really survive and make money at this game over the long term. You are just simply not allowed to be a buyer up top here, right? Make sense?
Yep. Right. Should we jump on the wheel?
How are we doing on time? We're about 40 minutes in.
About 40 minutes in, yeah.
I thought I would just, I guess we gave Bitcoin our due, didn't we?
Go on, let's have more to add. Go for it.
The other one I wanted to mention was Litecoin. I actually saw.
Oh, yeah, Litecoin was just recently added to GDAX, I guess, which is a
that what caused the rout.
Did they really add it?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was a big deal. I thought they had Litecoin on there for a while, but apparently not.
No.
You guys remember a few shows ago, we had somebody had asked what your thoughts of Litecoin was, and I was like, it just sure seems to me like it's still cleaning itself up, kind of idea. What's probably the best exchange for us to look at this on? Phoenix? Phoenix? I don't know. Can we trust Phoenix?
I couldn't even tell you. Right, BTCE is the old school classic one. I mean, if you want history.
All right. And
Charlie Lee wasn't joking, I guess.
Yeah, that's just to add to that. Charlie Lee works for Coinbase, and Charlie Lee is actually the guy that created Litecoin, so he kind of works for Coinbase now. When he was tweeting something the other day, basically saying, "Hey, big news on the way," and nobody knew what the heck he was talking about, and then it turns out that they were added to GDAX. So.
Well, it's been a rumor they were going to add Litecoin to GDAX forever, since before they put Ethereum up, and then they were. Right. Everybody was excited they were going to add more currencies, and then it was Ethereum that they added and not Litecoin. So right,
and then they started leading Ethereum kind of behind the scenes through the ETC, which is interesting, but yeah, we won't get into that right now.
Okay, a couple shows ago, I was very much saying I just really wasn't too impressed with what I saw here. We're going to need more time for this to clean up. And over the past month, I think it was a couple shows ago, over the past month, I've watched this W try and come in here. And we're awfully close. On a clothesline basis, I think the W is actually confirmed. What I do like to see, I don't know whether you can see it here, is we're getting nice rising volume pattern here. So that's encouraging. If I throw on the internals, we're starting to see some encouraging signs. Nice, you can see there's that volume break. I suppose we're still kind of on the fence-ish right now, but I had sold a bunch of coins on this rally up top here, and because we were coming back down against these lows, and I really wanted to see whether these lows were going to hold, and there was a really nice turn through here. I decided to go and buy back a chunk of those sold coins. And if I'm not mistaken, Litecoin versus the US dollar looks really interesting here too. Yeah, we had a little bit, you know, maybe not the best looking chart, but a bit of a bull flag here, or ABCD. There to there, there to there. So what this kind of tells me, I'm a bit of an inside bar here, what this kind of tells me is actually, you know, the Litecoin Bitcoin chart looks to me like it could work in Litecoin's favor, but I don't really see a compelling pound the table bull signal. Mind you, I do think the momentum signal versus the US dollar looks better here on Litecoin. So I thought that was interesting. I just, you know, I've been thinking about it for the past little while, and I know that I had told this community that I really wasn't impressed with what I had seen, lower highs and lower lows. I think that was around here when we were talking about it about a month or so ago. And now we've come in and we're trying to put in a bottom here, and we did a clothesline bottom here. And you can see the moving averages are trying to turn up. Things are looking better for Litecoin. In fact, I would even say relative to Bitcoin, Litecoin's looking a little better. So, you know, I'm actually sitting on a whole bunch of Bitcoins right now. I got too much Bitcoin, so I'm always looking for new ideas and ways to diversify the portfolio. And
Rob still has his Litecoin from when he bought it when it was like 30 US.
I have some $32 Litecoin you can buy, Brian.
Okay. Don't know if we'll see those days anytime soon. But I am encouraged. I do remember there were some people asking me about Litecoin, and I didn't like it before, but I am starting to warm up to it again. So. Okay, those were the major ones, I suppose, that I wanted to mention.
Okay, should we jump on the wheel? I have it set up here. So
yeah, go for it. What the hell?
Hopefully I can figure out how to operate this damn thing. Let's see here. Screen share. There we go. Share. And just a second here. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So I just click anywhere, and then it.
I think there you go. Oh, I can even hear it too.
Oh, Factom. Hooray.
Doesn't it do like an audience sort of?
Yeah, it cheers at the end.
All right, so Factom, a really interesting story. You know, fundamentally, I remember Alex back in the spring was saying that he had interviewed the guys and he really liked what he was hearing.
Yeah.
Technically, this thing was a bit of a challenge, right? Because it had a big face rip rally up. And unfortunately, we often say too far, too fast. Whenever you see a market just go parabolic straight up like this, that often means it's got to come right back down to the bottom. And unfortunately, that's basically what this guy did. I personally, and I think probably Polo is probably a better, yeah, there we go. Now I can see the full picture. Me personally, you know, running the altcoin portfolio, I actually did this trade two different ways. I had gone and funded the Polo account with 1/4 of a Bitcoin, just trying to get comfortable, trying to get used to their margin trading, and frankly, I still really don't understand it. And I had tried to put on a couple of margin trades. Actually, I just did one. I bought this little double bottom right in here, and it failed, and I just walked away from the trade. And I think I've mentioned this to you guys before. This is an excellent testament to like a trader's life. Quite often, it might take 2 or 3 attempts to try and get in at quote-unquote the bottom. And sometimes these coins will drive you crazy. Because this one here, you can see it got all set up. Okay, we're ready to go, and just nothing came of it. And then nothing came of it, and then finally we bottomed here. And now, and this is what sort of got me derailed from wanting to margin trade this, and I'd really like to hear Alex's experience. Is hopefully you guys can see a nice little W, another perfectly legitimate buy signal came in here, and we basically had to sit on the position for, you know, basically a month and just pay interest on this open margin position.
Right.
And psychologically, I wasn't prepared for that. And, you know, there's a lot of...
oh, so you did go long on this then, Brian?
I did.
Okay.
Like I said, I traded this 2 different ways.
Yeah, so then then the interest just ate up a lot of your position?
Well, so I was, you know, I was watching this, and I was getting really frustrated day after day after day watching the interest, and I'm just wondering, how do people, you know, mentally handle this?
Right.
I'd just be curious, and this is why I really wanted to see if Alex was able to maintain his margin position, how much of a margin fee was involved, and I don't even know where he went long. He might have gone long here. How much of an interest fee was involved to hold this position open? For me, I just got frustrated and said, "Ah, fuck it," and I just bailed at the trade basically at scratch, which really isn't professional trading. It's not following a trading plan. It's getting distracted by ancillary things that really have nothing to do with the trade. But until you properly vet this stuff, and, you know, in our school we spend lots of time talking about all these sort of extra considerations that you have to worry about as a trader, and do you really know the market that you're trading? You know, we were talking about that Steam earlier. Turns out that when you buy into Steam, you're actually buying... what the hell's the coin that you're actually buying? It's some...
it's like SBD, I think.
Yeah, SBD.
Steam dollars.
And frankly, I still don't understand how that Steam gets its value. And I put out messages to the public, you better be darn sure you know exactly what it is you're actually getting involved with here.
Right.
And really, to a certain degree, I didn't understand the psychology of the polo margin trading. And so I really have to work on, in my trading plan with regard to margin trading, how I'm going to manage this. Maybe what I'm going to do is I'm only going to use the Polo account to short Bitcoins if short setups come in. But sitting on this long position, and it didn't really do much for the better part of a month, and watching this daily interest every day and it fluctuating all over the place and not really understanding what impact it was having on my account was just driving me crazy. Now, you know, a good trade location is a good trade location is a good trade location. And when I hear a good fundamental story, a good fundamental story is a good fundamental story is a good fundamental story. There's no bloody way I'm going to let it slip through my fingers. So I did go and little old lady this thing, and I bought some little old lady style at the 61.8, and then I bought some more at the 78.6. So my average cost was right around here at about 2.5, something like that. Okay. So on this rally, boom, I got free coins. So I'm laughing. Little old lady, she's laughing. But margin trading wise, I kind of fucked this up.
It happens.
No big deal. It's, you know, a lot of life is just simply a learning curve. And I just chalked this up to sort of my learning curve of Polo. Because we keep the bet sizes small and I'm constantly monitoring risk, you know, just me walking away from this trade, I think it cost me like a total of like 0.02 BTC or something, which I'm more than happy to stomach that kind of loss if I'm not comfortable in a position.
Sure.
Great example, you know, this is what we call a saucer bottom. Can you see how this is very symmetrical? That's beautiful. Nice. This is what we call a saucer bottom. Great example again of just waiting for the reload zone. In fact, little old lady 61.8, little old lady 78.6. You can see this is why we call this the line in the sand. You can literally see how the market desperately fought with this level to try and recapture it, eh? I mean, talk about an important level. This was basically the battle line right in here, right? See that? Mm-hmm. I mean, just a massive battle line. Which is interesting too, because it was off of this breakout high, off of these key lows, right? Just that is one hell of an important level on Factom there, right? Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Now, where are realistic rally objectives? You know, we can do our fibs going the other direction. The good part about this, which I like, is the fact that they took this thing to new highs. So unlike that other one that we were looking at that did not go to new highs and might just be sitting in a trading range, this one did go to new highs. That's not what I wanted. So as a result, technically, this is actually the uptrend line. And, you know, at the very least, we should be hunting for, you know, reload short zones. So really, I don't think that this should be too big of a shock. You know, Elliott Wave would say that this should move in 5 waves. Let's see if we can do an Elliott Wave here. I'm not quite sure where we start our count. It almost looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We might be getting to the end of this. That's definitely possible. You guys ever heard me talk about William Gann, W.D. Gann, and the 50% rule?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He often used the 50% level as a profit-taking objective. And as you can see, there's the 50% level there. So W.D. Gann would be saying, hey, you know, if you're not taking profits at this point, then you're just a greedy son of a bitch. And really, you know, we should be, you know, thinking if this is the top of the range, then what we should be thinking is that the big boys are actually going to be looking to short or defend their shorts up in this area. So clearly you can't buy the asset now. If anything, what I would suggest is you simply draw a fib going back down to this low. And what a coincidence, can you guys see how the reload zone is actually just going to come back and test this exact same level again? Isn't that incredible?
Gotta love it.
So obviously there's something really, really important in the market's eyes at this level. So if, you know, I already have free coins, so really those coins I'm perfectly fine just to leave alone. And should this asset double again, I suppose that would be a test of this trend line up here. I'll get my next double off. But really, my hunch is probably coming into the end of the year, tax loss selling, blah, blah, blah. If this thing hasn't gone parabolic, then I'll be looking to probably try and buy the position back somewhere down in this area here. Okay, and then I suppose we'll just finish off quick boo on momentum and volume. I do see a potential momentum divergence. Willie is up in sort of that nosebleed. I don't know whether he's actually quote-unquote stupid yet. Looks like he's not quite stupid yet, but we're definitely getting up into nosebleed territory. You can see on this latest move higher, volume was lower than this last move higher, so volume impetus divergence. OBV still pointing up, so no real massive you know, warning signs here, but no doubt about it, we're getting closer to the end of the run rather than the beginning. Okie dokie.
Oakley dokley. Let's, I guess, do another one of these here. These puppies. Let's see. Screen share.
Wheel of altcoins.
Yeah, the wheel of alts. Ooh, Counterparty.
XCP.
XCP. And you know what? I think I didn't share my screen with everybody, so, well, just trust us, it was XCP, guys.
Yeah, we saw it.
You guys saw it, but I don't think I have Brian presenting, so.
Oh.
All right. I think we've talked about this one before. This looks familiar. I don't really have a problem being long this name off of the bottom here.
What's up with that OBV? That just jumped up there at that
right
point.
I think there was some sort of rebranding or maybe even a re-ownership or, you know, change of ownership or controlling interest right through here. And that's an interesting observation that OBV has been generally moving up here. There are sort of hints of trouble. We've got lower highs and, well, not really a divergence, but there's a potential trend developing here in momentum. both off of the MACD and the Williams percentage R. OBV kind of stuck in a range, and I suppose if you get a big sort of motivated seller, big red dildo, as the public likes to say, that's probably going to break this down. For the time being, OBV-wise, just simply put, stuck in a trading range. So really, I might even argue if you're just sitting there humming and hawing, just saying, I don't know which way this thing's going to go, just let the volume trend tell you which way it's going to go. Kind of like here to here, we had to swim down here for a while, then we put in a nice W, and we tried to break down, and then jackknifed up. I could see us just play around, and then some sort of resolution to this. Trade location-wise, I certainly couldn't be a buyer right here. I suppose off of this range here, it should make sense that buys, especially off, guys notice this reoccurring theme of the line in the sand on these altcoins?
A little bit.
You can see how the market really, first and foremost, this was the original double bottom breakout, down, up, down, breakout. And then line in the sand fib-wise, pretty close. You can see how powerful this level is in here. I suppose one could argue that if, you saw this rally and you're like, but I want to get in, I want to get in. You could have done a reload zone back through there, and that sets up a reload zone within a reload zone, which gives you that window there. Nice little double bottom on the momentum indicator, so you had a little bit of a tradable trade coming out of there. And I suppose that trade is still technically working. I suppose you could even argue you could have played this little double bottom, which would have been just the recapturing of the 61.8 there. Now, I couldn't buy it right here. Maybe work your stink bids down below if you really want to get in on this thing. I'm just a bit concerned. How many coins are out on this thing? Oh, 2.6 million. That's nice. Yeah, this isn't a bad name. If anything, I would just be throw your stink bid in off of this original low here. And if you can grab some cheap coins here, then awesome.
Not bad. Yeah, I can say too, Counterparty has been around for a while now, and I think they're just finally kind of starting to get really started in terms of the DApp platform and that kind of stuff. I don't know too much about it, but it's almost, similar to like an Ethereum type of platform, with smart contracts.
Maybe the talk of that, or sort of the rumor of that, is what this, right?
Yeah, that probably is what it was.
Yeah, so really this 0.00212 area sure looks sexy. That looks like that was the buy level. All right. Next.
Next, let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna unpresent you this time so people can actually see the wheel, which would be nice. Share. Okay, here we go. Okay, do you want to look at Steam again, or should we move on? We kind of just looked at it.
Yeah, I think we did it justice. I think everybody back up the tape about 45 minutes, and I did a full spiel on Steam.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we're going again.
And go to Steam and find my blog post. If you're interested.
Okay, so we have BLK.
BLK.
Which, for some reason, I feel like that
Blackcoin,
isn't it?
Is it Blake?
BLK.
No, I think it's Blackcoin, isn't it?
Blackcoin?
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah.
Blackcoin, 75 million out. I think I like the number of coins out on that other one better. Don't really like the look of this. This looks a bit bothersome here. Looks like in the short term this thing's a bit heavy. Broke a key support line here. Don't like that. Alright, so obviously there's some problems in here. So this is a problem coin. There's clearly a battle, a debate going on as to the validity of whatever the story is behind this name. My hunch is there was a change in the controlling interest in this.
Yeah, I think you're actually right about that. If I recall correctly, there's something like the original devs kind of just gave up on it. I could be 100% wrong, so don't hold me to that. But I think we discussed that on an earlier show. Alex kind of had the
it
inside
does
info.
look a bit familiar, right? So interesting trade location against these lows. If you're going to play this news story, notice how it dipped right into this range down in here. Probably not a bad idea if you wanted to work your bid against this tail here, somewhere down in here, 41.56 area. If you're a risk taker and a gambler. Somewhere down in this area here. Not a bad idea. A lot of coins out though, so that's a bit concerning. And really over the short term, if you bought at 41.56, could you see 8,000 to get a double? Ooh, that'd be awfully close. You'd really, I mean, basically your double would be a test of these highs right here, right, 8,400. So it would be sort of like really, slicing hairs here. But I could see a professional trader pulling it off. If you are, if you're margin trading this kind of idea, leverage trading, and we lose these lows, because this is such a big number, this thing could lose a lot of its value. So be careful there, guys. Little disappointed that this oomph didn't have a little more oomph behind it. And as we can see, the short-term momentum indicator has put in a nasty M top here and rolling over. So the problem is this thing's going to take some time to clean itself up. So if anything, probably the best thing to do, especially coming out of the summer here, be really light on your toes, guys. I don't think there's a reason to be a huge hero here today and call bottoms. If anything, just watch this thing, wait for maybe a nice little W. If it could come down here and just establish a nice trading range and then turn up with your momentum and internal indicators looking a little more positive, that's probably what I'd want to wait for here. So yeah, certainly couldn't buy this thing here. And really, I really wouldn't be surprised. The fact that it lost these lows, that's not good.
Right on, right on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what else I can really say about that.
So there's going to be a bit of a battle here.
All right, let's spin that wheel.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Sorry.
Oh, you're in the paradox right now.
I'm used to Alex handling all this hard work, so. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh, Mew.
Oh, yeah, interesting. And this is a coin that I looked at earlier today, and I was very interested in this. Was that MUE?
Yep.
Yeah. Somebody had said, "Oh, Brian, I think you're going to like the structure on this," and they're right. It's a beautiful looking chart.
MonetaryUnit.
Talking about it with XMR, right? I mean, this is basically a long-term structural bottom. Somebody's really trying to form a base here.
They say they're a truly libertarian and egalitarian cryptocurrency.
Whatever the hell that means.
Yeah, I don't. A lot of big words.
It says it was forked from Quark.
This was the only thing that sort of gave me pause about this was, good 100 million coins out. Didn't really like the look of that.
8-way random hashing algorithm. So is that supposed to be like ASIC resistant or something?
I couldn't tell you.
What does that mean, Rob?
I'm just suspecting that it's designed to be mined by less powerful computers, basically, so that it can be participated by more, to try to avoid the centralization you see with like Bitcoin mining, basically.
Okay.
I think that's what that means. But
one thing I do definitely really like about this, and we have one site member, a student, long-time, full alumni of our program now, Jonathan. He just, when he first learned this strategy, he just, number one, he's quit his job. He's doing that while trading. So
wow, awesome.
Anybody who's actually watching this show, it is doable. You can make a lot of money doing this shit. So One thing that jumped out at him that he absolutely loved was this, when you get a nice strong trending OBV indicator. And kind of like our conversation a moment ago about how somebody's putting a long-term base in this asset, you can clearly see that money on balance just keeps flowing into this name. Eh? Now, that doesn't mean we chase price. I definitely think I'll probably go and try and pick some of this up for the little, our crypto portfolio. I think it's a perfectly good place to have a bit of our assets working. So if I'm going to work a bid, where am I going to work my bid? Well, you know me, good old reload zone.
Yep.
So you know that I'm going to start my shopping somewhere in this area here. And you guys have been watching long enough, you probably have noticed that there's a big honking gap on the chart.
Yeah, there's a big one there.
Right here. So we have lots of technical justification for the price to work its way back down into this area. I wonder if there's a little bit of funny business on the chart right down off of this level as well, right down in here. And one might argue that the original double bottom, yep, look at that, there is a gap there. So we can see there's actually a little bit of a hole on the charts right there. And what would be interesting is to go on Bitrex and just see if there are any holes in the depth. How deep is your depth go here, guys?
We should hopefully have the whole thing. I'm not sure.
22?
Click on the top of the chart, Brian, where it says...
To the right of Series 2.
Yeah.
A little bit higher. And
up one
left.
more.
This here?
Yeah, click
to the right of
that.
Series 2. There's
there
you go.
chart
Yeah.
there, yep.
Okay.
Looks like we're having some issue where it's not showing up, but oh, there we go. Okay. So if you scroll
actually,
down,
oh, this looks good. Oh, this is nice. Okay, so you remember on the chart we were very interested in this 21 level. What I've noticed in my experience is sometimes they'll actually leave sort of holes on the profile, and they're often great places to work bids. So you can see how it comes down 60, 50s, and then 47, there's 4,700 bid there. And then, we go all the way down. And look at this, 28, there's 1,700 bid there. I mean, that can't be worth that much money, that order, right? So I think, yeah, if I'm going to be working a bid, I think I want to work my bid somewhere around this guy here. Maybe I might even work it at like 27 or something. Just be really cheeky. And then also, let's take a look at the bigger gap up top. Oh, looks like there's another gap right there, right? So let's look at this one. This level was to 62. And if we go back here. All right, so can you see on the profile, it's like, 322,000, right? And then down to 15,000. And then like 6,000, that's 60. That seems a bit odd, right?
yeah.
So can you see
Just as a note, we're going to be revitalizing this whole order book stuff. So.
Okay. So the point here is, can you see how there's a bit of a notch right here on the profile? Look at this. There's 450,000 coins, and then like 2 ticks lower, 6,000 coins. Like what the fuck, right? So on the profile of the order book, there's unfinished business here.
It's kind of weird how there's those whole numbers as far as the quantities too. Like if you look at 54, also 57. Just the amount out. I mean, it's obviously probably just one.
Yeah.
Thing.
Like
it's really one large order, right?
Yeah, you can totally tell this is just one guy's order. I'll buy 400,000, right? So, and think of it, if you're a motivated seller, right, you're going to be slamming into these buy orders, right? And if you hit one of these notches where there just isn't that much on the bid, then basically what's the point in taking the price lower? You're not going to get it filled, right? You're going to take the price lower, but you're not going to do any volume. So what good is that going to do? So quite often what I see with motivated sellers is they'll slam into a notch and they'll end their selling at that point. So if you're thinking about working bids, First, go look at the chart to try and find levels. And, in this case, I think this makes sense. We've got a mountain man level, 61.8, noticeable gaps, right? And then on the profile at 60 ticks, we have basically this anomaly, right? Why? At such an important level, mountain man, gaps, why is there such a small bid there, right? And then a really small bid here. My hunch is they're probably going to go and fill Mr. 90,000, fill Mr. 76,000, or is that, yeah, 76,000, and then now that's where the selling will stop, right? And that's 59.60 right in there. So quite often what I'll see, and when I was prop trading, my old boss used to say you got to have 3 completely independent reasons to justify taking a trade in the market. So here, and that's basically what we call setups, and this is how we trade. This is what I teach in our school. Is what are your setups going to look like? In this particular case, this could be I've got a gap fill, I've got a mountain man level, and I've got a notch on the order book profile. 3 reasons, and basically you work your order. So good example of a nice little interesting little trade setup window there. For me, I'm cheeky and I'm cheap, which means that I'm only going to work my stink bids probably, and I'll be really cheeky and really stinky and maybe work my bid down in this area hoping for this gap fill down here. But that's just me. I'm cheap. Okay. What do you think? Did we give it? I do like the look of these. Somebody said, I bet Brian's going to like the look of this W. And you're absolutely right. And so,
yeah, I'm going to do a little more research on Mu.
And so, and I've often, this strategy works really well. Wait for market structure to come in, then calculate your reload zone. And can you see that, buying the reload zone would just simply be buying at the 200-period moving average? Right? Well, that's fairly enough. So, or, if you want to, you can go mountain man and play the gaps and the order book notches, blah, 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 blah. So, down in here, I'd be a buyer.
Cool.
And definitely little old lady style. I would be willing to take a risk on this little old lady style every day of the week.
Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okie dokie. Well,
Should
we're
we
about
do-
a quarter after the hour. What do you think?
What do you want? It's up to you, Brian. Do you want to do like one more, or do you want to give an overview of the rational investor? I guess we could do both of those, maybe.
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, screen share.
Uno más.
I just like to announce it when I screen share.
Screen share.
Okay.
You gotta go. You do that. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Oh yeah, okay. There's that came from the website.
Screen
didn't
share off.
Screen share off. All right.
Did I just totally totally right through all that?
Who knows? We were all talking, so none of us know.
Who won?
Oh, you didn't see it. It was not N-A-U-T. Sorry, I didn't pick up what you were laying down, Brian.
Oh boy.
Not today.
Well, you probably can tell where I would be a buyer if you looked at this chart.
Probably not at 65,000 sats.
Yeah, I mean, you can see really cute little W's down in here. And then, of course, a bigger one that sort of confirms there. Mind you, you'd have to risk against all these lows, which is a bit expensive. Big rallies, you should have your free positions. I suppose we might even have had a bot leveraged long setup here, but very risky. Nasty failure right back down to the original breakout level, which happens so often. In fact, that's my big fear for a lot of these high flyers over the winter and spring here, is they have to come right back down to the original lows. Kind of, I suppose, like I said, a month or so ago when we were looking at Litecoin, looked exactly the same as this, didn't it? Right, where we had a big run up, and we were just coming right back down, making lower and just floundering. So kind of like the Litecoin, you watch and watch and watch and wait for some sort of signs of double bottom, and you can see, boom, it did it right on that day there. Eh? You see that big breakout there? Right, that day there, boom. So if you are a not aficionado and a fan, you need to go and find out what happened on the 18th of June. Because the 18th of June was the catalyst. That was the day that this thing was a buy. And it looks like it was a buy somewhere around this, whatever the hell this level is, 6777. Obviously, you know, wanting to get into a free position as quickly as possible. 12, 13,000 out goes half, boom. So literally on that same day, you might have gotten your free coins. That's how violent these moves can be, eh?
Mm-hmm.
The problem here, of course, is now we've had, well, even now, I suppose, right, is if you even think about trading this right now, I hope you guys can appreciate there is a lot of risk associated with this. Now, somebody, it was interesting because remember, and how ironic, we're going to come back to Steam again. Somebody made reference to a potential bullish flagpole, and by all means, anybody who is interested in Steam, head on over to the Steemit site and just search for Brian Beamish.
Yeah,
and,
send some Steam Brian's way.
Well, you don't need. I don't. You know, you can send me steamers or whatever. I don't really care. Really.
Send Brian a Cleveland steamer.
Okay. The point is that when we were on the site and we had this big rally up here, one thing I didn't like about this Steam environment is that somebody got all bullish and made big bullish. Oh, this is a bull flagpole, and potentially it could be. Right, this is kind of what a bull flag looks like. Although this is actually what they call a pennant, not a bull flag. But that's here nor there. The point is that somebody on Steam had put a post out. This is a bull flag, and you know, bull flags theoretically, all you do is you just replicate this original range. And I'm calling this a bull flag, and we're going to the moon. And unfortunately, you know, when I did the same analysis, and I was like, no, I don't believe this is a bull flag. I think we have to come back down to earth. And really, you'd be well served just simply, you know, hunting our reload zone kind of concept. So
like we're sitting in that zone right now.
Exactly. So the point here is that we're talking about not right now. There is, you know, this sort of bull flaggy type potential here. But the problem is that this is a fairly low statistical probability event. You know, maybe 1 in 8, like 0.125, 1/8, something like that. That we go boobity boom, and we break out through the top here, doing something like that. The problem here is that you know, a lot of new people do investing. Those are pretty low odds.
Right.
And you can't really, you know, you certainly can't get rich depending on those odds, because if you're wrong, then it's going to take a lot of being right to actually offset all of those wrongs.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a great odds to me.
It is potentially out there. Now, if someone was like, Brian, I swear this is a bull flag, I've heard from the insiders, I know they're taking this thing higher, there's a big fundamental catalyst coming, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Kind of like, you know, what we did on Bitcoin. We're just going to simply identify a trading range. You kind of see how we have a bottom of a range here and kind of like a top of a range here. And if we do indeed break out, then all this is going to be is a W. Can you see the W?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do decide that, hey, I want to play this, I believe it's a bull flag, then this becomes your buy point. And if you do buy right here, then this has got to be your stop. And if we break these lows, in essence, break the bottom of this wedge, then you got to get the hell out of there. You just got it. Or this son of a bitch could just pull a steam and just work its way right back down to the bottom. And you know, if you did this on any kind of margin, any kind of leverage, this is one of Rob's bag holding scenarios, right?
Right.
And really, we don't want to get into that kind of business. I think that on balance, you're far better off trying, and this is more for the audience, it's not necessarily specifically Rob or Will or anything, just on balance, the public is better off trying to buy against previous lows and look to sell against previous highs. The statistical odds of those working are actually 70 to 80% because the market ranges between 70 to 80% of the time. That's much better odds. And for small investors who are trying to make a buck at trading, you can play these setups, but you just have to be extremely religious. That if we break these lows, you've got to get the hell out because the bottom of this range is a long, long, long way down. Make sense? I mean, would Brian trade this? No. Not even interested. You know where I'd be buying.
Yep.
Okay, what do you think? Does that give that justice?
Yes, sir.
I think we did her justice.
Okay.
So I might as well segue into Brian. If somebody's out there listening and really likes what it is you're saying, is there a place they could go to learn more and get more of your excellent content?
We run a site called the Rational. Where are we here? RationalInvestor.co. Let's see if it'll load up here. There we are. And we've been running this now for a couple of years. We've been running very conservative. Keep in mind, I'm totally 100% public, total full disclosure. Coming on, talking to you guys every 2 weeks. We've been running a portfolio for, I guess, about the past year and a half, year and 3/4, and we're just doing fabulously well. If anybody has a problem with 500% kind of returns on their money, running very, very conservative, low risk, I don't think any single position other than Bitcoin itself in our portfolio represents more than 5% of our stake. In fact, really, I don't think any position really represents more than about 3 or 4% of the stake. So any one of the coins.
Truly diversified.
Yeah, and as you see on the, in fact, it probably shows right here, right? Well, maybe not.
You'll have to go under balances, I think. Just click skip on there or something.
Hey, there we go.
And then go to chart view, and then it'll.
Right. So
then you can
remember
get
all
to the pizza pie.
Oops. There we go.
There we go.
So, I want to own a little piece of everything, right? And you guys have heard me talk about my rainbow before. Ironically enough, I'm actually really heavily involved in Bitcoin right now. I'm too much in Bitcoin. I need to go and find some coins to buy. So you guys tonight have given me some really juicy stuff to take a good look at. So thank you. But anyway, this is our site. Very proud of it. I mean, I got to admit, running a full-time, fully integrated WordPress site alone could easily be a full-time job. To have it sort of at the level that people expect these sites to perform at. We have a very immersive members chat room that we're constantly talking back and forth amongst all the members throughout the day. This was one of our students from the past term. And you can see we have tons of people. In fact, if you take all 3 levels of our educational program, you become grandfathered on the site. And so we have a lot of people like, a lot of old timers in crypto land. Actually, I don't see them on right now. But, guys like Gravity, right? You guys have probably heard of him. He's a longtime site member and an active sort of Reddit guy. And a few people in the crypto community that I really, really am pleased that they're part of our community as well. Kind of like Alex and stuff we see.
Yeah, I want to add too, Brian, I mean, I have the utmost respect for you because, you keep a positive mental attitude, and that's really important because there's a lot of trolls out there.
Oh my goodness.
So, it's honestly refreshing, to do this with you week after week because you're just a positive guy, and Rob and I try to keep that way as well. So positivity outweighs negativity. So, but no, it's a testament to your site. I mean, the folks that are on the Rational Investor. I mean, it's a good community, and it's a lot of positivity flowing.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of our students, I highly encourage them just to use our community as like an incubator. It's a safe place in this very nasty, nasty community. You go on Reddit thinking it's a nice, safe place, and they'll just eat you for breakfast.
Right.
I think it's so interesting. I just popped on the site to talk about this, and already somebody's popped on the site and is sending me messages. So that's funny. If you are interested, and keep in mind, we cover a number, as well as a fully immersive and integrated, there's my funny little picture, chat room that I'm very, very active in. We have a very, very detailed blog that covers all the different markets and stuff that we trade, and I do daily videos or daily briefs that covers the stock market, the options market, the penny market, the crypto market, the altcoin market, the Bitcoin market on a daily basis. So members, and actually the feedback that I get about the daily briefs is people absolutely love them. So that's a really, really cool service basically every single day. Look at all these people popping in here. You're not supposed to come on the site now. Wait till the show's over. And as you can see, I'm active all over the place. Of course, you guys have been retweeting me. I mean, we knocked the cover off the ball on things like XMR. Even, like we said, Factom with nice profits booked there. There's my Litecoin buy, write-up and stuff. So, everything that I do in the marketplace, I talk about extensively on the blog, and members are very updated with what I'm doing. We have a very detailed market scanner that our site sort of WordPress guru has been just working his tail off. And we have an internal algorithm that we're just working away on building and bringing to market. And it's really good, handy tools too. Good trade location. We even have Bitcoin on there as well. And then, of course, we have all our various portfolios. We have a problem with our stock account reporting right now because the current brokerage house that we're needing, they want your account balance to be substantially higher than what our balance is right now for us to have access to the API. So, if anything, that's a great testament to Coinigy because you guys don't give us that kind of grief. And actually, something I wanted to point out to you guys.
We do, Brian, but you have to own at least 200 altcoins to use our API, so you're fine.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Only 117. We must have relaxed our standards a little.
And full reporting of every single trade that we do, blog posts, full write-up, and full accountability, including totally referenceable database, every single position, all of these altcoins, every single one of them has a write-up, so you can know exactly what I think at any given point in time and where I'm long, and basically what. How many altcoins are there out there in the world now? About 600 or 700 or so?
Got to be at least 1,000.
I don't know. I didn't think it was that high yet. But anyway, if it is 1,000, well, we own 10% of the market. And that means that I got to get to work and buy more bloody coins.
I didn't say 10,000 worth holding.
Don't say that. You're going to give me nightmares. All right. Really handy tools, and you can see exactly what we're doing in the market at any given point in time in any of our portfolios. And then, of course, sort of I think the big selling point right now for us, and it seems to have really resonated well with both the people that watch this program and of course the rest of the trading community, whether it be stock people or crypto people, is our school. We've now been running the school for almost 2 years. And I'm shocked. I mean, we don't basically start our next term for another 3 weeks or so. And really, I would argue that, maybe if you ask me really nicely, I could try and sneak you in. But really, if I cut the school off at the amount of people that have already signed up right now, I'd be more than happy. So lots and lots of demand for this service, so that's really good. That's a testament to this wonderful audience, so thank you very much for your faith and trust in me. And I believe that if you ask any student that has taken and completed our program, and I'd love for you guys to try and complete the program, I have yet to have anybody come to me and say, Brian, I don't know whether I really got value. I think, if anything, what I do with these programs is I try to under-promise and over-deliver. And most people are just absolutely stunned. They're kind of just in shell shock out of, number one, the amount of work that I'm going to force you to do, but even the transformation in themselves once they're finished the program. So you're more than welcome to pop on over to the site and just get a nice little overview of what the educational programs are all about and how you go about registering. And as I said, our term coming up here in September, we're getting really close to the end of the cutoff. We should probably give a shout out to that contest winner. We did have a raffle. Let's see if I have it over here somewhere. And the winner was Matt Pauley. And so as you can see, Matt's going to be participating in our program free of charge for him coming up in the fall here. So way to go, Matt. Way to go. Can't wait to get to know you a bit better, too. And that's basically what we do. I mean, basically, I'm all over crypto. I want to own crypto. You saw the charts of things like XMR and even that little last coin that we took a look at. You guys have heard and you now understand the concept of market structure. And when you start seeing W's on a longer-term basis, you go and buy those assets. It's just as simple as that. There's a reason why I want to be in crypto, and really, the great part about it, of course, is that I don't have to sell crypto to our audience because you guys are all crypto enthusiasts anyways.
Yep.
So you all know why we want to be long crypto. And I don't think it's an accident that what's happening in the world and crypto doing well coincide. I think everything that you see happening in the world makes sense. So if you want to understand why it makes sense, get your butt in the school.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you're still on the line, don't forget to like and subscribe. That helps us out, and you will get notified whenever a new video is posted. And as usual, we'll see you guys 2 weeks from tonight, same time, same place. And I will go ahead and say sayonara, and thank you for watching.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night. Hope to see you.